Oh my
You're the one who
god.
said it. You're the one who's kind of fucked up.
I kind of love most things I say, though. I feel like that's kind of par for the course. I think I'm kind of a funny guy. Some like when I really want to be. What's the silence?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you over all that hot air.
Well, okay, we're not allowed to be proud of ourselves. I mean, I know we're talking about
Yes.
Radiohead today, but a little bit of
Yes.
self-confidence is healthy.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, insecurity is the foundation of good content.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, considering what we usually do. Yeah, that's fair.
What do you mean? What do we usually do? Tell me. What do we usually do?
We usually spend a lot of the show shouting at each other or gassing ourselves up, and then that kind of does have it's a little bit of a result of insecurity, I think, isn't it?
You mean I don't know, like having like thoughtful discussion and like supporting each other through tribal. I don't know. It seems like you're trying to cast it on like a negative
we do
light.
that too, but like who cares about that? It's all about the bits, Pyrine. It's all about the
We're
humor.
doing it right now.
You're right. We should probably stop doing that. We should probably talk about.
Do you think like we're predictable enough to make someone could program like an algorithm off of us? Like, okay, that's about 15 seconds in, so they got to argue. Then after that, they have to say something like they have to backpedal and say, "Dude, I'm sorry, I don't actually mean that." And they're gonna say, "Dude, I love you, man." And it's like, oh my god. Then we'll have them immediately backpedal on that and say, "I would ship you my head in a box if you ever piss me off."
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I just think we're predictable.
No, look. We may have a formula, but nobody could do this like we do. All right, nobody could come up
That's
with
true.
the abominations of bits that we
Dude.
do. Nobody.
No, they couldn't. They couldn't.
Nobody's
They
depraved
blow their
enough.
brains out on stage.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
they couldn't do it. You think about it, we're actually the strongest human beings to ever live.
it's so true.
We start.
Yeah. Probably. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Music Box, the show where I, Bimler, enjoyer of music, show an album to my good friend Pyrine.
A few words, if I may. This is not supposed to happen to us, but to other people. Me, not me. These were these two clowns.
What?
Double scoops for everyone.
Double scoops for everyone. And after a week of listening, we meet up and discuss. Now, I'm just going to cut to the chase real quick. This is the episode I've been looking forward to the most since we started the show. You know that. I've known that. And if you've been paying attention, you might know that. We've been doing Radiohead every other episode for a long time now, since the Bends. So this would be our 6th album from them that we're going over on the show. Quite a lot. And it is not only my favorite from the band, I also pretty confidently consider it my favorite album of all time. And that album is Radiohead's 7th In Rainbows, their first independent release from their label. They release it as a pay-what-you-want thing on a website. It's generally considered their best, and it's to me, it kind of feels like a culmination of everything they've experimented with up until this point, and brings it together perfectly in the most confident execution possible, with some of the most intimate and personal lyrics since the Bends, if not more so. Just genuinely, I find it hard to levy any critiques at this record. But before I gas it up anymore, Pyrine, some thoughts when you first approached this record?
It's the best Radiohead record.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
That's his
I'm gonna put my meat on the table right there and just say that.
You're gonna put your
it's the
what
best
on the
one.
table? You're gonna put your
You heard
on
me.
camera? Why? You can't do that. We're gonna get taken off the air.
I'm not back down king. I'm step up king. This is the best one. It is, in my opinion, a culmination of literally every single thing that I've liked that Radiohead has done, put into a single album,
Yeah.
done at its best. And I'm just gonna say it kind of blows some of the other albums out of the water, which I guess makes sense. If you're going to earlier albums like The Bends, it's going to do that.
Yeah.
But even for other ones like Hail to the Thief, it's just it is such an astronomical leap in pretty much every single facet for me.
Yeah.
That I love it. It is awesome, and I adore this album. It is great.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna kind of spoil my ending score, although I think it's fairly obvious. This record is something that I consider to be as close to perfect as I can actually think of. I'm I'm going to give it a 100 at the end of this video. Like I said, I think it's my favorite album of all time. And when I say that something is as close to perfect as I think it can be, I acknowledge that it has flaws. Because everything that has ever existed will have flaws, and there will never be something that exists without it. However, I think this project and anything else that would meet that description, it's everything else outweighs the flaws to the point where I view them as negligible. It's like the mass of an electron compared to the atom. Who the fuck cares? Like, everything else is so much, so good, that it's like, you know?
You really just hit the audience with a, who cares?
Like, yeah, okay, there are some tracks that I would consider better than others, so, like, technically it's not perfect, but, like, who cares? I love all of them. Like, it doesn't matter. And that's my perspective when I talk about critiquing this record in any way. It's like, anything I can nitpick about it, it doesn't really matter to me, because it just doesn't. It doesn't take away from my enjoyment of it at all.
Oh, always bet on perfection.
Yeah, but no, I don't know. That's my perception on it, and maybe that's a topic we could talk on another time, of just like what we consider perfect in music. But in terms of this album, getting back on track, this record does a lot right, and I don't really know where to start. So help. I don't know where to start. I love this thing so much. I don't know where to.
Let's talk, here, I can go down my bullet point list. So the first thing I wrote down is the something that you told me pretty close when we started listening to this, is that people consider this to be the happiest Radiohead album. They're wrong.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. A lot of people consider this the happiest Radiohead album. In fact, a lot of people consider, there was some more in the know Radiohead fans may know about the gloom index that somebody had created. I'll pop an image on screen to calculate how sad Radiohead albums and songs were. And I believe In Rainbows came out the happiest, 15 Step being the happiest song. That's off of the Dome piece. I at least know it's up there. That's utterly deranged. Listening to this record and paying the slightest modicum of attention to the lyrics and the theming, and even just the sound. No, 15 Step is a song about killing yourself, and it was labeled the happiest Radiohead song. I
listen to that song like
case.
5 seconds in. There's literally a lyric that says, "You used to be all right. What happened?" That's not.
That's not. They do have the la la sound in there. They have the, yay.
They do.
Have that.
That's the sound. That's the sound effect that goes. That's the sound effect that plays when I blow my brains out. It's a bunch of. That's what played. I mean, I get it. At least in terms of the instrumentation, it's a lot less jury. It's a lot more energetic. But that to me is just like you're just not listening to the actual music. You're not absorbing what it's saying. And if that's the way you listen to music, that's fine. I understand it. I want to say that I do love the instrumentation for this soundtrack. And there is a very poignant theme of hope present throughout the entire album that really is less present than I think the earlier albums. But it's still like, it's Tom York. The man's the most insecure person on the planet.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I will say this. It's not the happiest Radiohead album. Two things, though. I would never in a million years say it's the saddest. Even out of what we've heard, I think Kid A is a sadder album. I think OK Computer is a sadder album. The Bends is definitely a sadder album. And A Moon-Shaped Pool is a sadder album. It's not the saddest Radiohead album. But I think it might be the healthiest. Because this album, being as personal as it is, being as intimate as it is, being as warm as it is, it very much analyzes its own unhealthy tendencies. In a really, like, it acknowledges unhealthy feelings, and in that way you can connect with it in a healthy way in certain instances, but I think it always, like, for example, I think the song Weird Fishes, which is probably my favorite on the record. There's a lot of contenders.
Too. Well, it's mine too.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That song is about, falling for somebody in something that doesn't work out, the endless search for unrequited love, using the metaphor of the siren, and being called out to sea, only to fall to the bottom of the ocean, get eaten by the worms and all the weird fishes. It's beautiful. It's tragic. But I think the way it's portrayed on the record very much makes you aware that it's not something that is good to feel. It doesn't glorify it, I guess. Which I think certain Radiohead songs may or may not do at times. Ergo, I'd argue Creep does, but a lot of music can do that in general, I think. If it's portraying a message like that, it can put it on a pedestal. It can make it feel like it's something cathartic or like good to experience. It makes you more of a real person or like whatever, any shit like that. I don't think this album does, especially with tracks that come later like Faust Arp that straight up call it out. Say like, no, you can't be doing that. It's not healthy. You have to break that cycle. I realized I kind of went on a big tangent, but I think that's something important that the record does. That's why I consider it the healthiest Radiohead album.
I mean, that's just the kind of thing that art needs to do. I think a lot of the time, music, movies, games, books, all that kind of stuff, it doesn't have to be like good. You don't have to be looking at something. It doesn't have to be going over themes that are, pleasant. The important part is that a lot of this is, about self-reflection, like putting a lens on that so you could actually see it and maybe, hey, recognize something like that in your own life. Like, hey, I might be kind of falling in and out of relationships that make me want to hug a large oak tree. And it's like, that's the point. I think earlier Radiohead albums can be a bit more like wallowy, a bit more like we're just kind of feeling the misery. Here it's more like intentional in its composure. It's meant to kind of, there's a word I'm looking for, like stick out more.
I guess so. I mean, kind of just, I think it's more like sincere in its examination of its own feelings.
Yeah.
I think another perfect example, I kind of already alluded to the track False Start, but I think specifically the way it interacts with Weird Fishes and the track in between them, All I Need, which is another favorite of mine, perfectly illustrates this. All I Need is an inherently toxic song. It has the veneer of something romantic and sweet, but a simple analysis of it will tell you probably shouldn't be thinking this way about somebody. It's beautiful. It's heart-wrenching. And the way it ends is my favorite moment on the whole record. I told you this when we listened to it. The ending of All I Need is the single most, like, I still tear up listening to that. I've been listening to this album for years. But the way that it is so openly lambasted immediately after by Faust Arp, basically saying, enough is enough, right? The elephant in the room is tumbling. Exactly where do you get off? Like, kind of putting a big pause on everything and saying, hey, you gotta stop doing that. I think is really important, and part of why I love this album so much is it isn't just wallowing, like you said. It is addressing its own feelings and shedding that light on it. And this is really cool. I like it.
Not that there's anything wrong with wallowing every now and then.
No.
I want to say that. Like, that is totally fine. But there is a limit, I would say, to that kind of thing. Definitely for me. That's kind of a problem I have with a lot of music sometimes, is it can just feel too much. Like, at some point, you have to stop.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that In Rainbows kind of does the perfect balance for that, for me, at least, in terms of, like, the theming. It sticks in there for long enough, but it also recognizes itself. Another thing I also want to say is that I'm glad you mentioned All I Need, because it's also second favorite of mine. It has my favorite themes in the entire album. Because that one hit. Listen, songs. I'll tear off the band-aid here. The song's about obsession. I can be an obsessive person. I can be a very unhealthily
the guy whose favorite
person.
Album is The New Sound is like an all.
I definitely don't listen to every single day. I don't every single. At
the
some
magician
point,
who speaks until his words become sand. This guy.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. No, but it's kind of a thing because it's talking about like being obsessed with like a person, right?
Yeah.
And kind of feeling like that person needs to complete you, and that kind of feeling. I've felt that before. Not even in like a romantic sense. Just like for people around me needing to feel that completion by putting other people in your life.
Yeah.
Like having other people makes you more of a person, if that makes sense. It almost gives you a person to view your own reflection. It kind of gives you that feeling on the inside to make you feel observed. Because that's another thing with this album is a lot of isolation, loneliness things. And that kind of idea that literally anyone that gives you the slightest amount of attention, you're going to go heads over tails for them. And that's not typically a good thing. That's how you get weird fishes.
Yeah, true.
That's how you end up blowing your brains out. I should stop saying that. That's like the third time I've said that. I'm sorry.
We're not... No. All right. We already talked about 15 Step. Well, a little bit. We'll probably return to that track eventually, but Yeah, no. All I need. You're absolutely right. Everything you said. Also, the lyrics on that track.
That's right.
God. Some of the it follows a very simple formula and structure, but I think some of the imagery it paints is just genuinely fucking awesome. Obviously, a highlight of mine. I'm a moth that just wants to share your light. Oh my god, that kind of has a double meaning of like moths being attracted to light, but you could also view it as a moth to the flame. That's cool, right? It's simple, but the way it's delivered and the context in which it's delivered strengthen it 100-fold. I'm an animal just trapped in your hot car. And of course,
Yeah.
I love the chorus. You're all I need. I'm in the middle of your pictures, lying in the reeds. It very much feels. All of them paint the very strong image of something that is integral in a sort of relationship between things, but not necessarily good or necessary. And I think that's really cool.
A lot of it's just about recognize. Like, I think it's a big thing with the album. It's just recognizing your own bad habits. Like, it's which one does it specifically?
At the very least, the first half of the record.
I would agree. Mostly the first. That's also kind of what I was gonna say. I think I like the back half of the record, but I just kind of prefer the first half more for the themes that it brings to the table.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go as far to say it's front loaded, but I just think I have a preference towards it. It's not like the quality is any less in the second half.
Yeah, no.
I'd argue.
I can kind of agree. I have formed very personal connections with every song on this record, but the ones that I definitely feel the strongest to are the track run from Nude to Faust Arp. Those 4 songs are like all top like 20 songs of all time for me. Probably not, but up there. I adore them to pieces, and they're all highlights on the record for me. And I mean, Faust Arp, I've been talking about it a lot, but I want to kind of put an end piece on that conversation and say that I think it's horrifically underrated. A lot of people don't give Faust Arp the appreciation I think it deserves because it's shorter and simpler, but I think it's incredibly thematically important. The imagery is great, and yeah, I think it's an integral part of understanding the psychology of In Rainbows.
I mean, it's a turning point. Like, it's literally the 5th song. It is going to be that kind of cresting over the hill to what the back half of the album wants to do, and I think it does it very well. Faust Arp, admittedly, is like probably not. I'd say not my favorite, as if like it's not bad. It's amazing. I love it. It's just like, to me, it's just like
one of your favorites. Yeah. No, I can agree. I don't think it's I don't think it's the best song on the album, but I think it's like people will just neglect it a lot. That's kind of my what I meant, and I don't think they should. But let's talk about Nude. Which was the only track out of that run that we haven't mentioned yet. Oh, that is probably the most beautiful song on the record, just sonically speaking. Tom's vocal performance, the strings on the thing, oh my god, the drums are mixed just sublime.
Guys, say it with me. If it has piano and if it has strings, it's good.
Like, yeah, but just the way everything comes together, the fact that it allows itself to just indulge in its instrumental passages. Speaking of which, fun fact for you that I didn't tell you when we listened to the record, the opening bit of the song is the ending of the song reversed. They're the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, listen next time. I mean, you'll hear this. Some of the things sound reversed in the mix, and it's actually because all of it is reversed. Which is crazy that it sounds as good as it does, and that you wouldn't notice that on first listen. But in between those beautiful instrumental sandwich bread pieces, we have one of the most ouchy bit of lyrics on the record. Very brief, but very scathing in a way.
Don't get any big ideas. They're not gonna happen. They're not gonna happen.
But I mean, I love. Obviously, that's the big memorable line of the song. I love basically everything else more, though, in my opinion. You paint yourself white and fill up with noise, but there'll be something missing. You've got now that you've found it, it's gone. Now that you feel it, you don't. You've gone off the rails. That whole bit, I always say this. I don't know if I've said it to you, but I've said it to many other people that I've shown this record. Nude is the kind of song that I always hear right when I need to hear it. And it very much feels like just a gut-punching reality check in a lot of ways. And it ties into the themes of the next two tracks, Weird Fishes and All I Need, in that way. Saying, don't get any big ideas. Like, don't throw yourself at this thing. Don't hurt yourself trying to get it, because it's not going to happen. And it's not worth it. You'll go to hell for what your dirty mind is thinking. And the way that line's delivered is like, oh my god. There's a really funny video on the internet of Tom York's vocal performance on this record versus The Little Mermaid, and The Little Mermaid sounds like actual ass compared to Tom York. It's kind of hilarious. I'll show you the video after this, but it's really funny. Yeah, Nude's fucking awesome. It's just it's another, like, every track I'm going to be talking about like this, by the way. Every track is just going to be going, because it's, oh my god, I'm doing it again.
It was kind of funny. As I was looking through it, because I was looking through it, like looking through the lyrics and stuff, and I started to like actually pick apart what it was saying. As I was doing that, the thought kept occurring in my head, yeah, this is him. This is you.
This is me. Yeah.
Yes. It's like, of course he likes this. Yeah, of course he likes this.
I won't lie to you and say that, like, part of why I love this record so much is personal connection. It is easily the record that I've connected with the most out of any record. I even made mention of it in the Ascension episode. She should watch, by the way. Because I made a note of saying that album was the album I connected with the most since In Rainbows. And In Rainbows is the album I've connected with the most out of anything I've ever heard. And it has literally not shrunk a single day on me since I've heard it. Every time I return to it, like, I've never had the thought after listening to In Rainbows thinking, maybe that's not my favorite record anymore. You know, maybe A-Foot's a little better. I've never had that thought. Not one time. Every time I've finished a listen of In Rainbows, I am left in such a state of, like, awe that I can't. I'm just going to be glazing it the whole time, so you will need to interrupt me. But, like, yeah.
I need to interrupt you on this podcast where we talk about music that we like.
I know, buddy. But, like, nobody wants to just hear me jerk off this album, like, endlessly for 50 minutes.
Why did they click on the fucking video?
Because they want to hear, like, a new person's thoughts. It's like the whole concept of the show, man. Give yourself some credit.
Well, if you want to hear some of my thoughts, then I'll say my thoughts. They're as follows. You kind of put me on a bit of a.
No, we can move on to something specific. It's fine. But I want to.
I don't know.
I want to.
In terms of, like, okay, no, you want to. Go ahead.
You were going somewhere. It's fine. Go.
He asked me to do something. He asked me to take the reins,
and then you said
he's like,
no.
But then,
and you were like, oh no, I don't know. So then I was trying to pick it up, and then you were trying to pick it up.
We're doing it again.
Go. Talk.
I think this is not going to be a favorite album of all time for me, but it is going to be above a 90. I'll spoil that right now. I think just the only reason is because it doesn't make that personal connection with me. It does at points. It specifically started in Weird Fishes. Which, to be fair, I had a bit of I might have had a bit of a cheat on Weird Fishes because Bimler showed it to me about a few months prior to this, back in September, just on a whim.
Same time I showed a motion picture soundtrack. Well,
I kind of was like, iffy on it then. Coming back to it, I really appreciate it for what it is now, actually taking a closer look at it. That was the song that really, like, hit me and kind of pulled me into the kind of vibe and world that Radiohead was kind of doing, which I think is really important for my, like, enjoyment of music, is you have to pull me in. You have to make me enjoy it. But I also probably am in... Okay, I'm gonna make a claim here that could be disputed later in life if I ever get in, like, a big controversy, if I ever go belly up. But I'm in an arguably fine state in my life. Mm-hmm. If I was in a terrible state, play this to me like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I probably would have a lot stronger of a connection with it. Just because it would have hit me in a time where I was a lot more emotionally vulnerable. But for now, it's just kind of... I really like it for what it is. And it could sometimes it can make that big emotional connection with me. It just doesn't always.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really anything fault of the music. There's really only two, arguably three albums that have ever done that for me. One, of course, being the new sound, and you know what that did to my brain.
Yeah.
Not a fault of the music. I will say the one thing that really did carry this album for me, kind of similar to Hail the Thief, was just the themes. Because I did like the instrumentation, the music. I would say not really a complaint, but more of an observation is that while Radiohead's music, like the composition, is very, very good. It continues to be very, very good. I would say it is a bit typical at this point. They're doing what they've always been doing, I would argue, just better. Had that been the only thing, I probably would not think like as much of the album, because this is like the seventh album, the seventh release. If they're not really doing anything new with that, then it doesn't really pull me in. But I think it's a lot more enjoyable if you actually pull it apart and start paying attention, which is true for most Radiohead things, but particularly here because there's a lot to see. And that kind of helped carry my enjoyment for it. It kind of helped me continue to listen to it, continue to engage with it, because I had actively something to engage with rather than just pure vibes, which is, as I said many times, something that I usually just go off of it casually most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't listen to music competitively. That's a joke.
I do. No, I can see that. I hope with time your connection with the album grows, as it did for me. Like, this album wasn't my favorite of all time when I first heard it. It wasn't even my favorite Radiohead album when I first heard it. It was OK Computer at the time, and it took it a while to actually usurp OK Computer. Like maybe a couple of months, but once it did, and I finally really it would be like a song at a time I would connect with. The first one was Weird Fishes, and then it was like Nude, and then it was Videotape, and then it was like, and this is more or less the order. I don't really recall it like that, but over time, I just kind of, the more I listened to it, the more I connected with songs, the more I realized, oh my god, I love this. Oh my god, I love this. Oh my god, this is just me. And I kept connecting with the record more and more as I got older and as I was experiencing that point in my life, because I started listening to this album in spring of my senior year of high school. So a lot of shit was happening at the time. And yeah, so that album carried me through that, and I don't even associate the record with that time, but I think that played a large part to how much I connected with it, is because it stuck with me while I was going through that growth and that emotional point in my life. But in terms of getting back to the specific album themes and stuff, I want to wrap up, because I think this album, like we've discussed over this video, it kind of has two halves, and there's only one song on the first half we haven't discussed, and I want to discuss it because I love it. That song's Body Snatchers, which I think is an often overlooked song on the record, because if you think Banger and In Rainbows, the song everybody and their grandma will mention is Jigsaw Falling Into Place, which we will get to. But I would argue, personally, I enjoy Body Snatchers more. I think it is rougher around the edges. I think it is more fun. I think the bridge is one of the best moments on the record. I think its message is more potent, as well as its emotions. I just think it's better. I love Jigsaw, and like I said, we'll get there, but Body Snatchers is kind of awesome.
I mean, you're not wrong. It is.
Yeah.
The whole thing is about, hey, some of the habits you develop, some of the things that you learn to do are kind of shit. And you're destroying yourself by doing these things, and you're not really engaging with free will if you're just letting yourself be shaped by the people, circumstances, and all that around you. That might not be good. You might want to have some fucking independence, free will.
Yeah. And
I mean, you're right, Tom. You're right. You're true.
Yeah. And I think the way that song interacts with Nude and transitions into the part of the album that comes right after is so seamless, because Nude can kind of be applied to everything that comes after it itself, and also Body Snatchers. Because I think Nude has very much a message of remaining authentic and remaining yourself, which ties into Body Snatchers and its themes of that not being the case, and you being sort of trying to think of the term that, like, reduced or simplified or changed by society or like the people around you and stuff like that.
Society, Batman.
Tom York's
Society
on
is
sabbatical.
The programming's broken, dude.
But yeah, no. It's a great song. But we'll move on now to the back half of the record. Which, well, I think if I had to pick, is the weaker half. However, every song on this album is fantastic, and that is not the case on the back end of the record, starting with Reckoner, which is arguably Tom York's best vocal performance, just straight up ever. He's absolutely beautiful on that track. Beautiful man. The imagery on it. What are you laughing about?
Beautiful man.
Okay. All right. No. I think the way he paints this idea of an afterlife, or the idea of a higher power, with the sort of Reckoner analogy and title, is very potent and fits sort of the almost like worship-esque tone of the song. The drum sounds on the track are crazy. Just like probably the weirdest sounding Radiohead song in a long time. Just in terms of chronology, like what release albums, probably at least the weirdest sounding Radiohead song since Idiotech. And I love it. The bridge, though, is much more on brand for this record when it drops all the percussion and just brings in all the freaking strings out of the woodwork and title drops the record. Fun fact, though, either way, this was going to be the title track because the working title for In Rainbows was Reckoner. I'm glad it's not Reckoner because I don't think that would have thematically worked. But that's a cool piece of trivia. But yeah, it title drops both Reckoner, but also the backing vocals say the name of the album. They say In Rainbows, which is cool. But what's much better is what Tom is saying over them. The whole "because we separate like ripples on a blank shore" is really cool.
I'm interrupting you. That's my favorite Radiohead lyric ever.
Damn.
That is the best one.
Damn,
that
I didn't
one
expect that.
Is straight up my favorite. That one, I read that when I was looking through it again, and I had to stop, like I was scanning through like a grocery store. Back up. What did he say? Because that is so real. I am a big believer in the idea of like connectivity with your fellow human beings. We're all individuals. We all have our own things, but there are things that pull us together. We have the same blood in our veins, as one might say. And that whole lyric is basically just saying that in the most interesting and poignant way possible, because we separate like ripples on a blank shore.
Mm-hmm.
It is chef's kiss.
It is.
I was kind of floored by that. Like, I don't typically get really impressed by a single line, but that did it for me. That did it. I would get that like tattooed on like around my neck like a biker.
Damn. That's fair. But overall, yeah, I think that song's awesome. And continuing the songs that sound very cool and have very pretty Tom York vocals, House of Cards comes next. I want to start by saying, and I say this all the time, I'm saying it now so I don't have to address it anymore because I feel like it undermines how much I like the song. If I had to pick a least favorite track, it would be House of Cards. And I don't even think that's a popular opinion. I think a lot of people love House of Cards, and I love it too. I think it is beautiful. It's probably the most floaty song on the record. The reverb on it is just delicious. Everything from the way it affects the percussion to Tom York's vocals to the guitar. It just all sounds very nebulous. I love that. Tom York's lyrics are very straight to the point on this song, starting with a single line that kind of sums up the whole track. I don't want to be your friend. I just want to be your lover. Which, it sets the tone masterfully, sets the themes up, everything that follows builds on it. It's great. Masterful lyricism. And a lot of the imagery the song paints, obviously with the titular House of Cards, and also things like throw your keys in the bowl, kiss your husband goodnight. fall off the table and get swept under, like under the rug. It's all just fucking awesome. Like I said, it's my least favorite track, but I can't really say anything I don't like about it besides the fact that I don't think it does as much as some of the other songs on the record. It kind of stays in its spot, but that spot is really good. So I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, ditto. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite either. I guess the only thing I really have to say about that is just compared to the ideas the rest of the album has been doing, it feels like a slight backstep in terms of simplicity. Like,
yeah, I guess so.
It's about love and security, which,
right,
to be fair, is something that has been discussed, but it just feels like a bit okay. We've kind of already done this, and you're doing it a bit more simple. And not to say it's bad, because I basically agree with every single thing you said.
Yeah.
I just think the reason that it doesn't like soar compared to everything else, and it's kind of like the one song that I would probably end up if I had to skip a song, it would be that one. It just feels like a backstep.
Yeah, I mean, I can say that. I mean, I kind of said the same thing. I think its biggest crime is that it doesn't do as much as any other song on this record. I'd even argue Faust Arp does more, just in terms of its ideas, in terms of its progression. Love House of Cards, though. It's awesome. It's great. It's an A-tier Radiohead song, and it's the weakest on the record, in my opinion. So, like, yeah. And the album immediately picks back up with two of what I would also say are some of the best songs in their catalog and on this record, starting with Jigsaw Falling Into Place, which I had alluded to. I prefer Body Snatchers. It's by a slim margin. This song is just undeniably great. Anybody can like Jigsaw Falling Into Place. I feel like if you're gonna just give somebody a little taste, a little of In Rainbows, I would say this track.
Got a Cheshire Cat grin.
Yeah, that's true. The walls that bend in shape, and they do have a Cheshire Cat grin, just like this guy. Well, not right now. He looks kind of sad.
Nothing to smile about in my life.
Okay, all right. Except the song. I mean, come on, that's pretty good.
Words are blunt instruments. Words are sawn-off shotguns.
Dude, that's a really cool line, isn't it?
It was a pretty good line. That's why I wrote it down. I do this thing. I like to write down lines that I like, so I can remember them in my. It's an idea I had. I think I'm the first one who's ever had that idea.
Yeah, I love. There's also some other really cool lines on there. Like before you run away from me, before you're lost between the notes. That's a really cool line. And obviously the highlight of the song is its climax, is the whole song is kind of a very linear build to its climax, which kicks ass, and is one of the highest energy moments on the record, one of the best moments on the record, undeniably amazing. Tom's most fun vocal performance on this record, and maybe ever. Like, you can, every time I do this song for karaoke, because I do karaoke stuff sometimes, and every time I do this song, it's just a blast. I just have so much fun with it. It's the most fun song on In Rainbows to do for karaoke, and maybe the most fun Radiohead song to do for karaoke. And the lyrics
it's just so fun. It's just so fun.
The lyrics build to the tension and energy of the delivery incredibly well. The whole, like, you eye each other as you pass, she looks back, you look back, not just once, not just twice. Kind of building that, like, tension and romance. It's really good.
That's it.
I don't know.
Really good.
I kind of said everything I need to say. Like, it's just fucking perfect. I don't know what else you want me to say. I explained what I liked about it. I said it's good.
Okay. For any music box superfans out there, can you go back in every single video that we made? How many times have we just said for a song, it's really good?
Shut up, man. Like, that's okay. We explain ourselves. We can also just say it's good because, like, it's like a summation. It's like, why bother giving a score when we could just do that, right? What's the point? They give a score at the end. Why even bother explaining? Because we want to get into the why. Why is it good? We can say it's good, and then we can talk about why it's good, and that's okay. We don't have to be a walking fucking thesaurus, Pyrine. We can just say it's good. I'm sorry. I gotta breathe. I think it's my first proper crash out on the show. I don't know if
Okay, jeez, it's really good, dude.
Whatever you say, man. Like, zoinks, alright.
Like, Sui Mama, man. Let's talk about the last song. Let's talk about videotape. Let's talk about that one.
God, I love videotape. I don't think there's a much
kinda
more...
like- I was gonna say, it's kind of like the opposite side of motion picture soundtrack, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
that's like
kind
the song
of.
you could directly correlate it with.
I think so. In the way that, I mean, first off, I'll get to that point, but I think it's a perfect way to end the record. I use the word perfect a lot. I think it's a perfect way to end the record. I think it sums everything up very well. The themes of mortality on Reckoner, and just that and 15 Step and the general feeling of the record, and also the more personal feel of most of the first half, House of Cards, Jigsaw falling into place. All of it culminates in Videotape, with lyrics like, this is my way of saying goodbye, because it very much is a song about passing away, in my opinion, or at least the thought of it. When I'm at the pearly gates, this will be on my videotape. It's very much a raw acceptance of impermanence and mortality, and just an open, unabashed cherishing of the friends we made along the way, the memories, the good times. And I think it's just heart-wrenching and beautiful.
No, yeah, it's an ouchie. It's an ouchie.
It's a big ouchie. And it does strike a very similar chord to motion picture soundtrack, just in a different way. I feel like motion picture soundtrack paints a very similarly beautiful and similarly sentimental, yet more of a gloomy image than Videotape does. Videotape feels a bit more sappy to me. It feels a bit more personal, whereas motion picture soundtrack sounds a bit more inebriated and dark, but at the same time, both have a very similar energy. What were your thoughts on that?
I think the difference is
You made that
the difference
comparison.
is that the videotape kind of does what we kind of been saying the whole time. The album's about, acknowledgement and acceptance of your own flaws, and that's the whole thing. It literally ends with, "Hey, I fucked up. I'm not perfect, but at least I lived. I got to do things in my fucked up imperfect life. I at least got to do things that I wanted to do, and it wasn't all literally for nothing. And if I had blown my brains out at 15 steps, I wouldn't have gotten to experience that."
Yep. No, that's real.
Which is, it's poignant. It's beautiful. I don't really think there's a whole lot more to say on it than that, because it kind of just spills its own meat on the table itself.
Stop with the meat on the table, dude. We're not going full circle on this. I'm not letting it happen.
Do you know if you listen to Music Box backwards, you see it's the same as it is forwards?
What are you talking about?
That was just nothing.
That was nothing.
Sorry.
You should feel bad.
Guys, play the gore.
Okay. All the lyrics on this are, I feel like it's kind of a redundancy to point this out at this point, but all the lyrics on this song are fucking my favorite on the whole song probably being "You are my center when I spin away out of control" on Videotape. The way that's delivered, the way it begins the sonic build of the song, it's just, oh my god. No, I'd say it's really great. I'd say it's perfect even. It very much, like, you kind of pointed out, it doesn't feel like it. It's an acknowledgement of, like, yeah, I'm not perfect. I fuck up. That is the most open acknowledgement of it, and I think it's beautiful. It's saying, like, whoever the song is speaking to, it could be a partner, it could be a friend, it could be family, it could be anyone. It could be a reckoner. It could be the fucking god, whoever. It's such a intimate sort of like, hey, you are what allows me to get through those times. You help me as a person grow and change, and you are my center when I spin away. Like, not necessarily that in, like, all I need. It's not like I need you to exist. It's more just like a gratefulness for having somebody in your life and what they do for you. And it's just beautiful, man. It's really, it hits. There's other lyrics on the record that do that too. "This is my way of saying goodbye because I can't do it face to face." Kind of feels almost like immersion breaking to me, as it's like Tom is acknowledging that song is how he's going to say goodbye. because he may not have the strength to do it in the way he would want to on his deathbed. And videotape is the legacy he wants to leave behind, which that meaning just makes the song all the more heavy. Just
Yeah.
But in general, if it wasn't ungodly apparent from everything that I've said in this video, and the fact that I already spoiled it, In Rainbows is my favorite record. I genuinely have trouble finding fault in it. I connect with it more than any other music or piece of media that I've ever experienced in my life, and I will carry it with me forever. I would give this album a perfect 100, and it is the only album I would give that score.
Well, there's nothing else to say. I give it a 94, I think. I usually consider 94 to 95 to be my, like, cap for most music that doesn't, like, immediately punch me in the gut. And even still, I wouldn't give something like the new sound a 100. If it's 100, genuinely it needs to be life-changing for me. The two albums that kind of go above 95 for me don't do that. This is as reasonably high as it can get for me. I put it on the same tier as Afoot in my terms of enjoyment with it, which I think is huge. That is a huge compliment. And even if it's not, like, I think my biggest complaint for the entire album is just, in a way, I want more, but I don't see how I would get more, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I mean the album I think is very purposefully concise. They recorded 18 fucking songs. There's a whole disc too you could listen to, but I'm glad it's only the 10 that we get. Because those songs wouldn't fit or accomplish the same things, I don't think, as these.
18 fucking song album.
Song
I cannot sit through it.
Yeah.
It is great. Like, I completely understand why this connects with you so much, and to be honest, it connects with me too. Like, I only say there's parts that, like, that really hit me. The entire thing does. And I think it does for most people, because Tom goes over a lot of things that are, as stated in the good old song Reckoner, things that connect all of us, because we are all in some way insecure. We're all some way facing doubts. Nobody's perfect. You don't have everything figured out. I'm just going to tell you that right now. It doesn't matter if you're 16, doesn't matter if you're 60. And I think that's what makes it kind of the perfect timeless album. No matter what point you are in your life, no matter how far in the future, or hell, how far into the past you listen to it, it has something for you. And I think that makes it really, really special. And I'm glad I got to listen to it. No bullshitting. I'm not joking around. I'm not being facetious. That's just me being legitimate.
Yeah, no. Which I will say, two things before I tease the next album and end off the video. I am going to elect to take a very brief break from Radiohead for the music box. There are three albums technically, but two in chronological order left to cover. And I feel like we've done a lot. You saw it. You saw a fish. I
saw the weird fishes.
Yeah. But no, we've been doing it every other episode. I had thought about it. By the time we get to the next recap, half of the list will be Radiohead if we keep up this pace. So I'm going to leave it as the three that we have done for this section, which on the next recap would be Amnesiac, Hail to the Thief, and In Rainbows. Leave it that way. And then we'll get back to it after episode 20. This is episode 16, so that won't be very long. And also, I had mentioned in the OK Computer one that was my third favorite. I had mentioned in this one that this is my favorite. There's still one Radiohead album that I think is still going to be a hit for you and is still one of my like top 5, at least top 10 favorite albums ever, and that's A Moon-Shaped Pool. I cannot wait for that episode. But that's going to do it. In the next episode, we will be listening to the long-anticipated new car seat headrest record, The Scholars. He already knows that, so I can say the name of it. But this has been a very long-awaited episode as well, since we covered Teens of Denial, did Twin Fantasy back when we were testing for the show, and the album being the first thing we got from the band in 5 years. Matters a lot more to me than it probably does to him, but I'm excited for that episode. It's going to be very interesting.
Nothing matters to me.
Yeah, we know. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!
Yeah, I have no end bit. Sorry, I was really thinking of one the way I got here. I was thinking like, oh, what am I gonna do for like the end? It's like we're closing out into black. It's like
It's
what are
okay
you
to
gonna
just say
Pyrene?
goodbye, man. You can just say goodbye.
No, it's not. It's not. I have to be more. Don't you understand? I have a fucking reputation to maintain. I gotta be the funny guy.
Yeah, all right. You got that.
Don't go. Don't go. Please don't go.